Today's stories are gonna blow your mind because you might not believe what's been happening right under your nose. I want to start things off with this new report from HHS, which has shocked a lot of people while at the same time confirming yet another so-called conspiracy theory. I'm sure you guys have seen videos of people talking about how some hospitals might remove your organs even if you're still alive. Well, according to HHS, that's actually true in a shocking number of cases. The department studied 351 cases where organ donation took place. 103 of these cases showed concerning signs. For instance, 73 of these patients did not have the neurological signs that you need to authorize organ donation. Even scarier is the fact that according to this report, 28 patients were probably not even deceased when the organ donation was initiated. Let that sink in. They may have harvested organs from people who weren't even dead. If that doesn't raise serious alarms about the whole system, I don't know what else will. Now, I'm glad to report that this horrible situation might improve soon, as HHS has reopened a case where a person with neurological injury allegedly suffered preventable harm at the hands of a federally funded organ procurement program. If somehow you haven't heard about this case, it involved a young man who, according to doctors, was brain dead.
Their testing they did that there wasn't reflexes, he had no reflexes, there was no brain activity, no brain waves. Tracking, his eyes were tracking, looking around. And we were told, by the ICU supervisor that it was just reflexes, it was just a normal thing.
When his family found out that he was an organ donor, they wanted to honor his wishes, but this is when their nightmare truly began.
TJ was then taken into the organ retrieval surgery.
Probably about an hour into, they come out and got us, and the doctor did, and told us that he wasn't ready, that he had woke up.
Now, the doctors told her to take TJ home and make him comfortable since he would not live long, but they were once again proven wrong.
Roar was told to take TJ home and make him comfortable as he wouldn't live long. Roar's been caring for her brother for 3 years now.
In addition to reopening cases like this one, a House subcommittee even held a hearing to find out more about the lapses in the whole organ donation process.
For every doctor, one of the most important tenets in the doctor-patient relationship is, above all, do no harm. But what happened in these cases fractured the doctor-patient relationship and saw patients subjected to pain and suffering that should never have occurred. As a member of Congress, we all swore an oath to protect the constitutional right to life afforded to each and every American. These incidents cannot be allowed to stand without strict investigation and oversight in the spirit of our constitutional oath.
Folks, there are at least 170 million registered organ donors in this country. It's a noble deed, and it gives people peace of mind to know that even in death, they could save someone's life. However, this also means that we need to regulate these cases with the utmost care and respect, which has not been happening according to HHS. And that makes me really mad.
Are expected to be removed, and yet they're still not brain dead or still alive. Can you expand on that? Can you tell me, we'll start with you, Dr. Cart, but have you had an experience where this information was brought to your attention? And I ask the three of you because each of you mentioned it in one form or another, either in your opening statement or in your written testimony.
I'm not aware of this particular case.
Now, moving on, I want to talk about Bill Gates, who's in D.C. trying to meet up with lawmakers.
I'm here in Washington, D.C., meeting with lots of members of Congress. I'm going to encourage them to stay involved in global health, saving millions of children's lives with a small part of the budget. When you ask people how much the foreign aid budget is, they often will say 5 or 10%. It's less than 1%. Even so, what we do give, it adds up to a lot. We save tens of millions of lives. Unfortunately, early this year, most of the people involved with that who work through USAID were all let go, and the money was largely cut off, resulting in a lot of people dying. We're trying to make sure that money that Congress said should be spent on these things, that actually gets spent. I'd argue that the 1% is worthwhile, not just on moral grounds, but very practical grounds of keeping America strong and protecting us from diseases.
As you can see, he says he's here to get the U.S. more involved in global health, but this might not be all he's looking to achieve. We all know that he and his foundation are top donors for Gavi, and well, let's just hear what RFK Jr. has to say about that organization.
When the science was inconvenient, Gavi ignored the science. I call on Gavi today to re-earn the public trust and to justify the $8 billion that America has provided in funding since 2001, even when the science contradicts established paradigms. Until that happens, the United States won't contribute more to Gavi.
So Bill Gates might be using his underhanded influence to force some of the politicians into dealing with RFK Jr. and his health policies. But unfortunately for him, he's visiting at a time when his company, Microsoft, is facing some very serious allegations.
Earlier this week, we were alerted to a potential vulnerability in our DoD computer systems, and we've been checking into it ever since. It turns out that some tech companies have been using cheap Chinese labor to assist with DoD cloud services. This is obviously unacceptable, especially in today's digital threat environment. Now, this was a legacy system created over a decade ago during the Obama administration. But we have to ensure the digital systems that we use here at the Defense Department are ironclad and impenetrable.
Look, folks, I told you this could happen, and that's why I'm shocked that we're giving his companies even more access to the Pentagon through their AI agent. Now, while Bill was in Congress, a reporter working for Laura Loomer hammered on this issue of leaking information to China.
Gates, would you like to condemn Microsoft's Azure program for leaking sensitive classified information to the CCP? Are you pro-CCP, Mr. Gates? I understand your foundation owns a lot of Microsoft shares now, and your Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has heavily financed and is financially connected to the CCP.
To be honest, I don't think such questions even get under his skin anymore. I've been covering his shady actions for years now, and let me tell you, this guy is immune to all kinds of criticism. It's like he doesn't even feel anything anymore, which probably explains why his wife said something like this.
I also met Jeffrey Epstein. He was abhorrent. He was evil personified. I had nightmares about it afterward.
And you shared that with Bill, and he still continued to spend time with him?
Any of the questions remaining about what Bill's relationship there was, those are for Bill to answer.
Another person who seems to be immune to criticism is Mike Johnson, who says he won't allow a vote on a non-binding Epstein resolution before the recess. And here's his reasoning.
You all know I speak to the president multiple times a day on a typical day, often, always. And what I know about the president's heart on this is that he agrees with everything I've said here today. He wants maximum transparency, but he's also very insistent that we do not subject people who have already been victims of unspeakable crimes to further public scrutiny. And it would be a very dangerous thing to put those people's names out or to do a release of information in a way that is haphazard where they could be easily unmasked.
Now, I totally agree with him that we need to protect the victims, but that's also why he shouldn't have any issue supporting Thomas Massie's resolution, which is aimed at releasing the documents while protecting the innocent victims. Of course, that resolution doesn't need the speaker's permission, it just needs enough signatures, but even then, there won't be any vote before Labor Day. In the meantime, however, let me show you what Congressman Burchett has released.
Did a motion to direct the chairman of the full committee to authorize and issue a subpoena for Ghislaine Maxwell to appear before a deposition. And that's it right there. I had it printed out, so I made sure I do it appropriate. Talked to Chairman Comer. He's down with it. We're good. I believe he's going to issue the subpoena. He's a stand-up guy. We just got to get to the bottom of this thing, folks. It's just, it's 4 years, and we don't need to tolerate this stuff anymore. And I get the blowback about folks up here are going to be mad at me, but ultimately, and with all sincerity, excuse me, I'm going to answer to my creator on this issue, and what we did about the least amongst us. And we got to send a message to these dirtbags that do this. This is not acceptable behavior. And also a message to the victims that we believe you and that we need to come out of the shadows, and we need to bust these people that do this and send them to hell.
Folks, you have to understand that the president can't run again as far as the Constitution is concerned. These congressmen, on the other hand, have to go back to their base and explain why the hell they were silent on this issue. So it makes sense that they're trying to clear their names by at least doing something. Now, one issue where all of the Republicans seem united is the one involving Barack Obama.
Barack Hussein Obama, have you heard of him? And except for the fact that he gets shielded by the press for his entire life, that's the one they look. He's guilty. It's not a question. I like to say, let's give it time. It's there. He's guilty. This was treason. This was every word you can think of. They tried to steal the election.
Interestingly, Obama isn't the only one in the crosshairs of this administration.
When we caught Hillary Clinton, I said, you know what? Let's not go too far here. It's the ex-wife of a president, and I thought it was sort of terrible. And I let her off the hook, and I'm very happy I did. But it's time to start, after what they did to me, and whether it's right or wrong, it's time to go after people.
Of course, we can't forget what the president has already posted about Hillary.
Jr. He was declared the front runner for the New York Senate seat back in 1999. Days later, his plane crashed into the Atlantic Ocean, and his rival, Hillary Clinton, was elected senator.
Now, I've covered this story before, and it is kind of crazy how that plane crash not only took out a rising political star, but also cleared the path for Hillary Clinton, who almost became the president of this country, which is an insane thing to even imagine. So I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of actions they take to bring her to justice. And that brings an end to today's video. We've got some wild stories today, and I want to know what you guys think about all of this. So please don't forget to share your thoughts with everyone in the comments down below. As always, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.